unlike a brick and mortar or a a standalone business, we kind of touch all over in terms of different business segments, different business types that work with us, and we not only just do the magazine, we also have a strong digital presence. Also, our brand itself is kind of a lifestyle brand as well, so we've been really kind of focusing on that as well. So overall, we're so kind of have so many verticals going on that we can kind of work with anyone and everyone in different ways. But I think just our overall brand and what we've been able to create over the last 5 years is something that I think is very important, and I think a lot of people look at it in different ways, and it kind of comes from different different age groups and different sectors of the industry, and how it's perceived. And the word dope itself, as many of you know, has many connotations of how you can see it. My generation looks at it like it's something cool, so something is dope, it's cool. Older generations may look at it like a dope is someone that's stupid, and somebody else may look at it like a negative word for heroin or something. So what we tried to do was introduce it and make sure that people understood that, hey, this isn't exactly what you think it is. And it actually started as an acronym, which standing for Defending Our Patients Everywhere. That's what DOPE standard for originally. As legalization happened and as other things have changed, we've continued to use that acronym. We also added Defending Our Plant Everywhere as a kind of a more general round thing. So I think, just to answer your question, the most impactful thing we've done is kind of being able to take our brand and our name and make it something that can resonate with many people across all different walks of life and business sectors.
Where is DOPE now? Because you guys have been growing, so you had to do your own branding and marketing in other states.
Yeah.
So that has to be kind of difficult, getting people to, first change their mindset about the cannabis industry. So how do you serve them?
It's a real grassroots thing that we do, and it's we aren't just a national company sitting out of a high rise in New York. That's those are other magazines that are out there that do that. But I think for us, it's having boots on the ground in every single city and region that we're in, and I think that's important because that helps us really build into the local culture and the local community, because every city is different. Oregon's community is different than Washington's community, and Washington's community is different than Colorado's community. So DOPE is, while we're we have a very strong point of view and we have a good vision for who we are and what we stand for, but we also understand that there's different areas that we have to really pay more attention to in different parts of the country. So I think that's kind of, we've been kind of, it's kind of a dance and never ends, and we always have to kind of keep our ears to the street. And luckily we are kind of a center for information and stuff that comes in, because we are a magazine, so people always want to tell us what's going on and who's doing what, and so it's kind of easy for us to keep track.
And plus you have great parties.
And we do try to engage, and that is that kind of came from some of our backgrounds, was we were in that kind of event production world, so we were able to easily kind of translate that over to this industry. And I think it's nice, because I think that alcohol's been around for how long, and that's just kind of been ingrained into like the entertainment and the the event sort of world. You go to an event, you expect there to be a bar, right? I mean, it's like wherever you go, right? But how can we do the same for cannabis, where you can go somewhere and experience cannabis in the same way you would beer and wine and whatever else? And I think we've always tried to keep that our real kind of war cry when it comes to events, is we're trying to make it this normal too, as much as alcohol is within that same area.
Right on. How about you, Tim? What kind of successful campaigns have you guys been doing?
So we primarily have been working in the social media spectrum of things. So I mentioned earlier we did the social media for this show, and just using that as the example, when we picked up the page was around like 250 likes or so, and within about a 2-week period, we were able to drive it up to over 1,000. Now I think we're at like 1,080 or something like that, in a very, very condensed amount of time, to drive registration to the show, make sure people come and the exhibitors are happy and everybody's getting good education base, and we do work a lot with dispensaries in Oregon and Washington both, and like James said, it's figuring out how the communities around XYZ location are interacting with their own brand. And that can be kind of tricky. One of our clients is actually the Squaxin Creek tribe that just opened the first Native American reservation cannabis dispensary, and figuring out how to draw the local community outside of the Native American community to come in and actually interact with them, while having to pay additional apparent taxes, because they're their own sovereign nation, so they don't technically have to work with Washington, though they are. But because of the phrasing, it seems like they're paying more taxes, and how do you justify that to people who aren't getting, quote unquote, benefits from the tribe? Question?
Oh, yes, sir?
I'm an enrolled First tribal member. I have a question pertaining to that.
Yeah.
Does the tribe charge less tax than the state of Washington, or there's an added tax on top of the state of Washington's tax?
That's a great question.
Because
So,
like tobacco sales, people come to our res to buy cigs because we don't charge that.
Right.
You get a pack of cigs cheaper.
so
For us.
to answer the question, they don't technically have to do a tax like on any kind of legal standing, because again, they're on their own sovereign nation. They've agreed to match the tax. And the way that it works is they actually don't pay it out to Washington, they get to keep it within the community. But for sake of competition, they've chosen to just match 1-to-1. And they're actually kind of going through right now like how they want to present the tax, because they did a base like, here's what the state tax is, just to kind of make it easy for people to understand. And then it looks like an additional tax, even though it actually all averages out to the same amount. So to answer the question, no, they're not charging more, it's the same, but
They just get half of that, the tax on each sale.
they actually get all of it.
Oh, they get all of it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, it all goes back into the community, and that tribe specifically, they're putting a lot into obviously education, specifically with their school system. So I know that that's a big part of that tax.
That's great.
Sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
Do you want us to wait for like question and answers?
Yeah, if it's okay with you guys, I mean,
My bad.
no worries. It's all about information and sharing. So is that are you?
Yeah, I think that actually kind of all wrapped up really well. So
Right
pass it
on. Randall, what's going on at Innovation Agency?
Well, originally I was going to tell you our big success story. Is it okay if I share that?
Yeah.
What put us on the map was kind of back in the beginning days of legalized cannabis. We had our first client, and they went public, and we helped do the communications and the marketing for them. And it was just, I can't
tell us who it is?
It was Medbox.
Okay.
And I don't want to take too much credit for this, because it was really lightning struck, and it was being at the right place at the right time, but it got crazy. Their stock debuted at $1 and it went up to $215. And they were in the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg News and Fox News, and we just kept fielding phone calls from journalists and television stations and reporters that wanted to feature their story, and every time they were in the news, their stock kept going up to ridiculous levels. In fact, the fundamentals really didn't support that kind of stock price, but it made a lot of people rich on the way up. In fact, CBS News interviewed my client and said, according to our research, you are the legal marijuana's first billionaire. And so that really put us on the map. Now, since then, there's a whole other side to that story, which I won't go into. But since then, it's been a lot of people call us up and say, hey, can you do the same thing for us? And I say no, but we'd be happy to try. But, and one of our clients now is Kush Bottles. They're doing really well. They're a leader in the packaging. They've sold their 100 millionth bottle already.
Is this their lanyard?
It's their lanyard. That's right.
Nice
That's
job,
right.
nice marketing.
That's right.
Thanks.
But that's our crazy success story.
That's great. So then you've seen some